So today I was going to start working on tabs. Tabs for like the roof. I got these little tabs that they take a 1/4 bolt. These are what I was going to use for the roof. I was going to start welding all those in place. And I got a roof here that we made up with the help of a friend. So basically I cut out a square piece of aluminum and then left extra for the front to kind of curl down. Now this is a little long, I got to trim it up. However, what we had to do, I had to take it to my friend's shop who owns San Juan Fabrication here in Montrose. His name's Gabe. What we did is we had to put this in a big press brake. And so we put lines every 1/2 inch and then lined it up and pushed it down. However, he's got one of those fancier press brakes that basically have the backstops on it that you can just set. So I didn't actually even have to put these lines in there because he could just program it to move the backstop so that we could just keep moving this thing in place. I've got a little massaging to do with this piece of aluminum to get it to fit the tube just right, but that's no problem. First thing I'm going to do is weld all of these brackets in place. Just going to take my TIG welder and I'm going to use a square edge, just something square, to make sure that these stay flat with the top of the tubes, and I'll demonstrate that shortly. Then I'm going to put all those in place. Then I'm going to set this aluminum roof on there. I'm just using 090 right here. I believe my other one's 1/4 inch, but I just had this piece of 090 laying around, so I figured I'd use that. Anyway, that's kind of my plans. What we'll do is weld all the tabs in place, then set this in place, mark it where I'm going to trim it, where I need to still trim it, and then get it all trimmed up, then put it back in place, and then hold it down with some clamps, and then drill up through the bracket so we can put 1/4 bolts in it to hold it in place. And that was my plan for the roof. Also have my brackets, my tabs that I'm going to use, that I'm going to put on the sides for my side panels. I bought some aluminum, some 060 to use as side panels. That's what I use on my stuff for side panels. And I'm going to cut out a panel for the 2 sides and then for the back, and that was my plan for panels. I cut out a small piece for the hood as well. This is my hood. My little triangle piece. This is, I cut out a 090, and I was thinking instead of using hood pins on this, I might just use 1/4 turns. I haven't decided yet, but I still need to do some trimming on this hood. I just cut out a piece because I had the saw out. So, I'm going to finish trimming that up and then weld all these little tabs in place. Now, welding these little tabs in place can be kind of tricky sometimes because you're welding a pretty thin material to a little bit thicker piece of material. And sometimes with TIG welding, it can be a little tricky because you kind of start near the edge and it's easy to burn through. And if you're not super good at TIG welding, I'm not super good at TIG welding, so I just continue to practice. But one little cheat that I have that somebody told me about, that my brother-in-law told me about, is basically silicon bronze filler material. This melts at a lower temperature and it's more like brazing. So basically when you put your tab on there, and you won't burn through this tab as easy because you can use less heat on it before this filler material starts to melt. And I use silicon bronze on my other buggy, and some of those tabs have gotten so messed up they've actually just about nearly folded over, bending back and forth. And the silicon bronze filler still didn't break. So while it's not as strong as regular, say TIG filler, it's still pretty strong. And it just makes it's kind of a little cheat to weld thinner, mild steel to a thicker steel. So that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna use a straight edge and start going around and putting all these tabs on and kind of seeing how far we get. And it'll be fun to kind of get some of these panels in place, because then this thing will start to look like a more complete buggy. So these tabs that I'm using also for the sides, these are 1/4 turn fasteners. So basically you weld the tab on there, then there's 2 rivets with a spring that get put in there, and then I will demonstrate on my other buggy kind of how the 1/4 turn fasteners work. Quarter turn fasteners are great because I can tear my other buggy down in like 5 minutes. Just go around with a flathead screwdriver and just start taking off all of those quarter turn fasteners. And you can have the sheet metal off, including all the interior sheet metal off, in minutes. It just makes it so easy to do your maintenance. Like in between trips, every time I come back, I pull all the panels off, pull all the interior panels, and I can get to all the bolts around the transmission, the engine, the drive lines, all that stuff, and I can do my kind of nut and bolt check. It just makes it real easy to get a visual of everything. The only place I use bolts is just on the roof. Other than that, I use quarter turn fasteners for everything. They cost a little bit more. The quarter turn fastener itself is like probably like $2, and then here's an example of one. And you buy them in different grips to where they grip the spring, and I can show that a little bit later. But basically, you buy them based on a grip on the thickness of the aluminum that you're using. If you get a grip that's well, anyway. We're gonna weld these guys on place, and then I'll demonstrate kind of how they work. They're slick. They cost a little bit more, but they save a lot of time in the end. So here's an example. This whole buggy uses quarter turn fasteners all the way around it. So like all these side panels and all these panels, all of this pull off, and this is just how easy it is. It just a quarter turn like that and pull it right off. And you can see how quick I could go around and get all of these panels off. So they're just really slick to use. This buggy has a lot of panels. It's very dirty right now, but it's too cold to wash it after my last trip. But this is basically what we're going to be putting these all around. And they stay pretty strong on there. For example, like this one got pretty mangled. I'm not quite sure how, but you know, that silicone bronze held up just fine. You can just pull that back straight and it doesn't crack the weld. So that's what I'm using. And like this buggy, the entire interior as well is all quarter turn fasteners. So I can pull off all the floor pans and everything to service everything. So it just makes it so quick and easy to get at your motor and to get in there and do some work. So I'm going to start putting my tabs for my panels on this and getting them all in place. So basically, the easiest thing to do is just take a magnet, kind of stick it right on there, and I don't know, maybe I'll demonstrate over here, but basically you stick it on there like that, and it's best if you can go across two tubes because then it stays flat, and then I know it's level with the tops of these two tubes. For these more open areas, what I do is take a flat square edge and basically just kind of hold it like this, and then tack the one end on there so that it stays in place. And then I go back and then I fully weld it. So that's kind of what I do. On these corners, I just use a magnet because it's really easy. And in the more open areas, I just kind of hold it flat against the square edge like that and then tack it in place. So, kind of the easiest way to put on these panel tabs. My friend Mitch showed me this and it works very well. One of the easiest ways to do it. It's kind of the same thing I did with the roof in the back. This isn't going to have very many panels. It's basically going to have 2 side panels, back panel, roof panel, hood panel, and then just some tin work inside. And it's all going to be super basic, super simple. This isn't going to be, I want to keep this as basic as possible. It's not going to have near the amount of sheet metal work that my other crawler has. So I just like to keep it simple, but have just a few panels kind of to fill it in. So I'm going to go around, start welding all these in place, and yeah, try and get these panels on here. The springs that hold these in place just basically go in with a rivet. Just kind of stick it in with a rivet. Then I just go back and put them in. Then I just go down one by one, putting each of these in. And that's what holds them in place. And these things are a little expensive. They cost a little bit, but they're definitely worth it. That's for sure. So that's how they go. All right, so I'm working on my sheet metal. And what I'm doing is I've got all my tabs now welded on. I just welded all those on. And then I've got these little guys. Let's see if those show up. Anyway, they have a little point on them. They basically just have a little point. And you slide them right into your tab. And then what I'm going to do is line this up. I'm going to hold it in place with some clamps. And then lightly tap all these areas. I'm going to get everything lined up in the center of the tubes. Then I'm going to tap all those areas, and that leaves a mark where I just have to drill. So it's kind of, it makes this process very easy, very quick and easy, just to find the holes without having to like try and drill through the back of it or something, because sometimes there's a tube or something in the way and it doesn't work very good. So that's what I'm going to do. So right now the hood is not fastened down. I just have it sitting there because I can't fasten it down till I have my shock mounts in place, because they're gonna slightly kind of go through the hood right around this area. The shock mounts kind of go through there. So other than that, I like to wrap the aluminum panels with just regular wrap, because when you scratch it or end up on the side, you're not having to re-powder coat the entire thing. It's easy to fix, cheap, easy replacement. So that is my plan in the future. I'm gonna wrap all of this and wrap all the panels. That's the easiest thing to do, I think. So in my video next week, we're going to start taking a look at the shocks and flexing the suspension out and seeing how it does. Anyway, I'm going to try and just mount the shocks that I've got. They're 18 inch. If 18 inch shocks mount, the 16s that I had originally ordered would definitely fit. So that's my plan moving forward.